Let's start by removing the seat. You're going to need your key, and the hole is right here. Put your key in, turn it, and then lift up on the front of the seat and pull forward. Now we're going to remove the rider seat, and to do that, you're going to need to take out these two bolts right here, and you're going to need a 6mm hex to do it. And it'll be really helpful if you have some small bags. You can put your bolts in it, keep them organized. You can write seat bolts on this bag and set it aside. You will be reusing it. Now that you've taken out the bolts, lift up the back side and just pull towards the back. Now we're going to be removing this green fascia, and to do this we're going to be removing these 4 bolts, and you're going to need a 4mm hex to do it. And on these bolts there's a plastic washer. You're going to want to keep those as well. Go ahead and set your bag aside, and that can be fairing bolts. And then you just, on the back, just pull it towards the back of the bike. And if you look down through there, you'll see these green tabs. You want to be really careful not to break them off. These guys right here. And then the exact same thing on the other side. You see you got all these tabs right here, and they slide right into this plastic rail on both sides. Go ahead and set this aside. Now we're going to be removing the grab rails on both sides, and to do this we'll do one side at a time. You're going to remove this bolt, and then right here you have a hole. You're going to need to remove this bolt, and then the whole thing will come off, and you're going to need a 6mm hex. These would be our rail bolts. You're going to want to hold on to it so it doesn't fall. And that's a bolt and a washer. Go ahead and set your rail aside. Now we can go ahead and do the other side. Same procedure. Let's go ahead and remove our tool pouch. And to do that, you're going to slide this hook over that tab and then just set that aside. Now we're going to remove these 4 bolts, and you're going to need a 5mm hex. And as you take out this last bolt, this plastic section is going to lower a little bit. Don't worry about it. It can't fall down. And we call these our tail bolts. Now we're going to remove our rear light. And to do that, we're going to need to take out these 2 bolts. Underneath them are 2 metal washers. We have lost ours, but trust me, they're supposed to be there. And to remove those bolts, you're going to need an 8mm socket. If you have a 1/4" drive, that would be the best option. We're going to use a universal joint. You don't necessarily need it, but it does make it easier if you have it. We'll call these our light bolts. As you take out this last one, hold on to the assembly. Don't forget to grab those washers. And then just pull it back. And you're going to disconnect it. It's got this little tab here in between these. And you press down. And then pull out. So that was the tab. And you can set that aside. We're going to remove this rubber retaining strap, and all you have to do is just pop that out, and then it comes right out. Set it aside. Okay, we're going to continue to lower our tail, and to do that, there's 2 more bolts we need to get to. But to do that, you have this plastic tab that's sitting on top of another tab, and there's one on both sides, and this is what's holding it up. Once we move those, it'll lower down, and we can get to our last couple bolts. You'll see that's that tab it was sitting on, and do the same thing with the other side. You're just pulling away. And you'll see that the tail assembly has lowered a few more inches. Now that we've lowered the tail section a bit more, you can see there's 2 Phillips bolts right here. We're going to need to remove those. And there's a couple different tools you can use. These angled guys are nice. Come in a lot of kits for various products. Or they have these ones. These are nice. Or a really short Phillips will do it too. And we are definitely going to speed this up because it's going to take a minute. And we'll call these our last tail bolts. And you'll want to hold on to the tail at this point. Ooh, it tried to escape. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to hold the tail section and you're going to pull it towards you. And you'll see that there's a little tab there, and you don't have to do anything with it. It just kind of lets go. It was the last thing holding it in place. Now you're going to need a regular Phillips screwdriver, and we're going to start taking out some screws. If you flip this to the side, you'll see right here and right here, there's a couple screws that we can remove. We'll call these our removed tail bolts. One right here. We got one right there. Basically, this tail section is in 2 pieces, and these are holding it together. So to get to that wiring, you need to take these out. At the bottom of the tail. There's one here. That's going to need, we're going to need to go back to our socket and wrench with an 8mm. And then we need to remove our license plate bracket. To do that, we're going to need a 10mm socket and a 10mm wrench. And you're going to have a nut and a bolt. Keep putting them in the same bag. It's going to want to fall once you get that last bolt out there. And it's going to have our reflectors on it. Same bag. Okay, so on the back side, you get 2 bolts here. And that is also a 10mm. There's no nut on the other side to worry about. Put it in the same bag. And then it's just pushing up on that part and separating. And then just the cables are fed through it. We're going to need a Phillips for the bottom one. We're going to start a new bag. This is going to be license plate light. Looks like our angled Phillips is going to do the trick here. Okay, license plate light bag. Let's remove the blinkers. To do that, Phillips, hold on to the blinker. These are going to go into our blinker bag. The flathead screwdriver, place it underneath that clamp and it'll come right off. Then pry up the next one. There we go. Now we're going to work on freeing our cables from the fender pieces, and these really don't have much value and you're not going to reuse them. So the best way to do that is to cut in a few spots, and you can go ahead and remove the cables, make everything nice and easy. And the best tool to do this is either a really heavy duty pair of scissors or a pair of snips. You're going to want to avoid using a utility knife if you can, because you're more likely to hurt yourself or cut the cable, and that'll really be a bad day. So what we're going to do is, we already did the cuts. We did one right here, and that'll let us take our license plate light out. And then we did one right along here, and then back through that other one, and that'll free this guy up. And then on the other one, right across there. And now all our cables are free. What we're going to be doing now is adjusting the length of our turn signal and license plate light cables so that we can attach our bracket and start doing some reassembly. In this position, you can see, if you look right back here, this is where the cables are coming through this plastic bracket, and they have these white connectors in here, and that's pretty much to keep them in the position they're in. What we're going to be doing is, depending on if you have bags or do not have bags, that will determine the length of the cables you need, and we're going to go ahead and put those lengths in the written instructions, and we'll also tell you here. The length of the cables are measured from the point of when you have this in its upward position, and you measure from the end of the plastic where it goes into the bike down to about here. It doesn't need to be exact. You'll see both of your turn signals are the same, but your license plate light is going to be a little different because it's going to go into the bracket and it's going to go like that. So you need a little bit extra length. When you're adjusting your cables, there's plenty of room on the inside of this panel here, and you'll be able to adjust each one of these individually, and you'll just kind of hold it into position and then pull it down, and you can push the wires backwards and forwards through those white clips until you get them to exactly where you want them. And then just make sure that you can push it back up, and we'll go ahead and start putting on that main plate. Now we're going to be attaching our bracket, and it's going to mount with this gap here going towards the wires. These feet are going to be going through these holes, and this wire, your license plate light, is going to be going through here. This may take you a few tries. You just need to make sure that none of the wires end up between the feet and where you're going to be mounting them to. And then you're going to put a 20s go in the front, 25s go in the back. And then in the top, you're going to put a washer, and then you're going to put a nut. And as long as your measurements are close, you can go ahead and put in the other 2 bolts, washers, and nuts and tighten them up. Let's go ahead and attach our rear light assembly. You're going to need your packet of 2 bolts that says light on it. And we're going to start by connecting the 3-wire connector. You'll see this top has a little push button on there, and it's going to go to the side of this that has the hole, and just put it in. It'll only go one way. And then the connector is going to stay right about there. This silver attachment is going to go on there. And this is going to kind of go over that. And then you're going to feed your bolts through the 2 holes. We're going to use an 8mm socket. When we were disassembling, we had moved this part of the fairing here to the underside of this tab on both sides. We're going to go ahead and pull it and put it back on top, and then do the same thing for the other side. Now you can get your packet of fairing bolts. There was 4 bolts in it. You're going to need a 4mm hex, and let's go ahead and put the painted fairing on the back. And we want to be gentle with it because we're just dealing with plastic tabs, so gentle movements. The way this is going to work is eventually these holes are going to line up with these holes. You're going to set it down behind the holes, and then you're going to slide it down, and you'll feel them go into position. Then you can slide it forward. You'll see the 2 holes here, and then these 2 holes here line up with the holes in the fairing. And you're going to take your bolts, put them in, tighten them up. And you want to tighten them just till you get some resistance. It is, once again, just plastic. Let's go ahead and attach our passenger grab rails. You're going to need a 6mm hex, and then you have 2 bags with the same pair of hardware in your rail bolts bag. And the way this works, this is going to slide into the gap right here, and then the other end is going to go right here. The long bolt is going to go on this end. And then the other bolt feeds in from the top. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Let's put our tool bag back into position. Then you're going to put this through, and there's a little hole at the very bottom that you can use to put the loop back where it belongs. Then over that, let's put the rider seat back on. And you're going to need the bag that says seat bolts. And you're going to need a 6mm hex. Let's put the passenger seat on the bike. This is going to go first. It's going to slide underneath there. And then push down and you'll hear it click. And then just make sure it's on there correctly. Before we put any more parts on the bike, let's give ourselves some insurance. Turn on the bike, just the accessory. And let's make sure that our blinkers are on the correct side. So left blinker, left side, right blinker, right side. Next, we're going to need 2 of the turn signal brackets. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver, and you're going to need these pieces that you took off of each side of the turn signals. They're universal, so it really doesn't matter. And the way this installs, the open side, this goes towards the center of the bike. The slot is going to go towards the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to, with our fingers, just kind of flatten out those wires so that we can fit them through the slot. Take your time. Just like that. And then turn it the correct way so that it's facing towards the rear of the bike. And you're going to start with the larger side, and you're just going to work it into the slots. And it takes a minute. Take your time. Just like that. Now take the silver piece with the flat side facing towards you, put the wire in, and slide it down, force it down. Then take the cover piece here, start all the way up, slide it down. You'll see now the holes line up. Take the little black bolt, thread it in, and then using your Phillips, tighten it up. Okay, and then do the same thing for the other side. Like I said, sometimes it just takes a minute. There we go. Then the silver piece. cover piece. The bolt. Phillips screwdriver. Now you're going to need your license plate light bracket, and you're going to need the bag of screws that says license plate light, which has 2 silver screws. You'll notice on this bracket that there's a flush side, and then there's one with an indentation. The indentation goes towards the light, and you need to make sure that the light is facing downward. And you're just going to slide these wires through that slot, and it's a lot easier if you do it at the wire part instead of the sheath part. Go ahead and slide it over the 2 posts, and then put your silver screws in and tighten them up. Now you're going to need 2 8mm bolts, and you're going to need your license plate bracket. What we're going to do is mount the license plate light first. You're going to need a 4mm hex. Now you're going to need 4 10mm bolts and your 4mm hex again. And at this point you have some options. You can have them at the furthest out position or the furthest in position. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now you're going to need 2 10mm bolts and then 2 of the M8x12s. So that's the larger bolts. Let's take our 2 10mm bolts and our 4mm hex, and let's bolt this to the bottom holes here, and it's going to attach from behind. Once you have your bent bracket attached, you can take your 5mm hex and then the 2 larger bolts, and attach them to the holes, this hole and this hole. All that's left is attaching your license plate. And what you'll find is when you're putting the bolts through, you just need to kind of bend these back so that you can get access. For this part of the installation, we're going to be installing the legs. And you'll notice the bolt holes are not centered. They're either to the left or to the right. And this is the configuration you want. The left side, you want the holes further to the left, and the right side further to the right. You're going to need an M6 hex, your 25mm bolts, your 20mm bolts, and your 12mm bolts. This is going to be the 12s on both sides, 20s, 25s. So go ahead and take your longest bolt, put it in to the bracket here, and start screwing it in. And we're not going to want to tighten these tight. We want to be able to have some adjustability when we go to put on our luggage rack. So we're just going to screw them in a little bit so that the bracket's in its final position, and you'll see it move. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now you're going to need your billet luggage rack and 4 of the M8 by 20 flathead bolts and your 5mm hex. You'll see that these 4 holes correspond with these 4 holes. Go ahead and place it over, put in your bolts, tighten them up. And don't forget to go back and tighten up the 6 bolts that hold your legs onto the bike.